Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, praise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. God bless the brave who fight and strive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom, another live stream. Here we are. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. KC, first up in the chat once again. Quick as a hiccup. Thank you all so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk, as you saw from the thumbnail, Tucker had it's about a 4-minute interview he did with some conservative news outlet, and some of the stuff he said, we've got to criticize it. We've got to look at it a little deeper. We're also going to talk about Candace Owens and her latest victim card. You know, Candace, the poor, woe is me, poor little victim. And of course, Alex Jones had a response to her. It was pretty good. Then we're going to talk about Trump striking ISIS in Nigeria. This was done, you know, in support of Christians down there who have been persecuted. I've talked about it several times on this channel. I'm sure you guys have seen it online, but we're going to talk about that a bit as well. And then we're going to talk briefly about the Georgia election, some of the things that have come out, and then some foreign aid numbers. We've got to discuss this because it's part of the argument that we kind of get in our bubbles, you know, when we talk about foreign aid and all this. We're going to talk about foreign aid compared to the Somali daycares that have been ripping off Minnesotans. Is that how you say it? People from Minnesota, the poor old folks from Minnesota. And there's a reporter who's been going door to door with these daycare centers and these other things, just finding rampant fraud. It's really wild. And then let's see that. Let me make sure I did. And then we're going to compare some of this to California as well, because the fraud there is just absolutely out of control. So a great show. I'm going to get through it and then get to the comments. So if you are new here, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. We got a great community. Enjoy the chat. You know, everybody's. We have a very active chat, and it's awesome. We got a great community of folks down there. So be sure to hop on board with all the great people there. Let's go ahead and start with Candace first, and then we'll get into Tucker, because Tucker's going to take a little bit longer. Candace Owens, so she recently put out a tweet. I still say tweet. She put out an X post. And so she said, France, Israel, Australia, the Daily Wire, PragerU, Turning Point USA, Alex Jones, Christian influencers, the entire mainstream media, AIPAC, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Big Pharma, and Hollywood versus me. Oh, the poor lady, the poor Candace, you know. And so I bring this up to say that we can add that to her list. Israel, TPUSA, so that was kind of included in there. The new additions are Alex Jones, and let's see, the new additions are PragerU, Alex Jones, Christian influencers. AIPAC kind of goes hand in hand with most of what she talks about, but then Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Big Pharma, and Hollywood are also against her. But poor thing. And it's wrecking her numbers, right? It's absolutely destroying her number one podcast in the world, her millions of views, her tens of millions of followers across all her platforms. Poor lady. And, you know, so she's fine. This is how this has worked. She is finding, you know, she flings insults and innuendo, and then the response from, we'll call them her victims, but the targets of her attacks, when they respond, it's deemed to be an attack on her, and she plays the victim card. And it's interesting because I've said she is a leftist. I think you guys know this, that it just like the left says it's racism, sexism, patriarchy, you know, pick your group or whatever it is. And that all of these things have created an endless supply of victims. And Candace said, you know what? I used that back in 2016 when I was on the left. I'm going to go ahead and apply that to myself. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the victim card to myself. I can become a perpetual victim because I've made the list so massive that I will never escape it. And here you go. She can play the victim card. She's a leftist. That's it. I mean, that's just it. The tactics, at least, are leftist. Playing the victim. And so she, let's see. Let me pull up this clip here. This is from, which one was this? Oh, this was her response to Ben Shapiro. I played it on here before, and this is the other piece of this, the Christian perspective. So you guys know that I'm obviously a Christian, and it matters to me because that's what shapes my entire worldview. My moral foundation is a foundation on biblical principles, and that's what our country has been doing forever and ever and ever until recently as we start to get rid of it. But nonetheless, this is... I've said this before, by their fruits you will know them. That's a biblical phrase.
This one is so fully off of the mother plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, you and the midget horse that you rode in on. Well, Ben, when it comes to you, I just know the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising to inflate your numbers to make people think that you're popular. You are such a joke of a little man. Your jealousy against Tucker, your ability to believe that you can keep manipulating the markets. You know those kids booed you on that stage. The amount of messages I got from Turning Point USA people saying, what is happening? Why is he on this stage? Standing against everything that Charlie believed in.
There's a lot wrapped up in this. Aside from, I mean, people, you can use profanity. That people do it all the time. That's fine. But it's the ad hominem attacks trying to reshape what actually happened at TPUSA. We heard Ben Shapiro at TPUSA. We heard the response. There were the Groypers and the Candaceites that were in the crowd, but overwhelmingly he had support. And I say this again, I always have to throw in the caveat simply because the guy is Jewish, but I'm not a huge supporter of Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with him on a policy perspective. Do I think he's a net positive? Yeah, I think he is. But I disagree with him on a lot of things. Nonetheless, Candace throws in the ad hominem, throws in, her reshaping of the narrative, and how interesting that that's the exact same thing she has been doing since we lost Charlie. And, the way that basically she is the whole storyline of this, let me put it this way. I don't like morally bankrupt bigots. I'm just not a fan of them. And this is why I don't like Nick Fuentes. I can't stomach them. What we're doing with the movement that we had, it was a big tent, and it is a big tent. It's going to continue to be a big tent, and we're going to have scuffles, kerfuffles. We're going to be we shouldn't be at each other's throats, but we're going to have some very spirited debates. But some people people like Candace are doing things that are, they're immoral. I believe they are immoral things. The defamation is going to come back and bite her big time. She is flinging out, as we've already seen, so many wild conspiracies, innuendos, put everybody on the defensive so that she controls the narrative. And it's the old saying that the first person to speak is the one who seems the most right. In fact, that's biblical. I can't remember where that is in the Bible. Somebody just mentioned it the other day. I was listening to someone. But anyway, if you throw out slander, insults, or things that are facts as you see them, or your opinion, that's going to be gauged to be the most honest response. And this is what she's doing. Everybody else goes on the defensive. And meanwhile, she plays the victim. So I cannot fathom the people that are lapping this up like a thirsty dog. Her content. It's I guess because it's exciting. It's the true crime narrative. We talked about that probably, about a month ago, that when you follow the outline for a true crime show, this is what Candace Owens has locked in as her format. It is successful, and she keeps running with it. And she doesn't care who she deceives. And interestingly enough, Alex Jones had something to say about that. He said, well, let's just listen to good old Alex. These were his comments on this.
Really, really amazing last night. I saw, without even looking, all people I've known and interviewed, several of them, going, Alex, you understand, it doesn't matter if Candace's information is right. We don't care. We hate TPUSA, and basically we're going to bring them down, and you just don't get it. And then I saw a couple more of them, and then people going, yeah, we don't care if it's true. And I was like, oh, you're not stupid. You're like Machiavelli now. Like, you think you're fighting evil, and so you think you can just make up whatever you want. And then I saw something.
So this is his conversations with people. They're essentially telling him, I don't care. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. We just hate this organization. Did we hate it before Did we hate it before Charlie's assassination? No. Everybody loved it because it was such a net positive. The moment that happened, people started to hate it. Why? There's only one person in the media space who is bashing TPUSA. Only one. And her followers, of course, but they're only doing what she says. She's the ringleader of all of that. So yeah, this very Machiavellian approach. It's this, the destruction no matter what. We're kind of on this path of mutually assured destruction on the conservative within the conservative movement. And I stand by it. I don't think we can withstand the midterms, a win in the with this level of infighting. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping that the middle of the road milquetoast fence sitters are going to see it for what it is, utter and complete nonsense, and it's not going to shift their vote over towards the left because, you have to see where the broader movement hopefully is going, but it certainly doesn't look like that from the content I'm consuming. And I get well outside of my bubble. I consume stuff from middle of the road to the far right to the very, very far left and everything in between. But Tucker is another piece of this. And, the American people, it's kind of like they're trying to shake up the narrative, right? What we have believed to be and what I believe to be the greatest threat to our country, Tucker is now playing apologist for, and it's quite interesting. Let's go ahead and listen to this. This is I'll probably stop along the way and give you guys some commentary on it, but let's start and let's listen, and I'll get to some comments here in a little while. Thanks for the comments.
During AmFest, or I guess it was after AmFest, and they asked the audience, what they considered to be the greatest threat to America, and they did put radical Islam at number one. I'm wondering where you think those sentiments are coming from. I mean, I've heard you say before that this is an op and that we all know which foreign government it's actually coming from. Which government is it, and can you explain how that operation works? How is it, kind of lured into those?
From the Israeli government and its many defenders and informal employees in the United States, of course. And I guess I would just say if that was actually, I don't know how people responded to the poll. I don't know who answered it, but, I believe in measuring reality a little more empirically. And, I don't know anyone in the United States in the last 24 years who's been killed by radical Islam.
Okay, I have to stop there. I don't know anyone in the United States who has been killed by radical Islam. Interesting, so I pulled up the stats because there have been a lot. The Pulse nightclub, 49 killed, 58 injured. San Bernardino, 14 killed, 24 injured. Fort Hood, 13 killed, 32 injured. Boston Marathon, 3 killed, 260 injured. Bourbon Street truck attack, that was 14 killed, 57 injured. Chattanooga Recruiting Center in 2015, that was 5 killed, 2 wounded, or 2 injured. And then Arkansas Recruiting Center in 2009. You can go on and on and on. And obviously we could say 9/11. 9/11 it skews the numbers, so people usually take that out, but that was 2,753 deaths, around 6,000 wounded. Some estimates as high as 25,000 because there was fallout from toxins and carcinogens and other things. There have been about 100,000 people who have, applied for the health benefits that came with the 9/11 survivor. I think was it the 9/11 Survivors Bill or Survivors Act. So we're talking about thousands of people, and how many folks? This is the problem. A lot of people will listen to that and say, "Yeah, I don't know anybody. I don't think they aren't thinking about all the ones that I just. That's not all of them, by the way. Those are just the biggest, most I guess prominent would be the easiest way to put it. They're just the most prominent examples." And then we've got the soldier deaths, which that's not here in the United States. Got it. We were over there. But the 25-year war or the 20-year war that we were in, that was 7,000 lives lost and 53 wounded, not to mention the number of wounded. I knew soldiers. We had soldiers in my unit. They were amputees, double amputees, triple amputees, because of the nature of the conflict that was over there. And yeah, there are secondary and tertiary effects to all of that. Not just them, but when things like this happen in families, they're like secondary and tertiary effects. It goes far beyond that. But on top of that, from just that number of incidents, the ones that I read off, you're talking about the psychological impact of having an insurgency, which is how Islam works. When they get into a place, it becomes an insurgency. And when you have that fear in public events, why do we have to have, in our small little town where I live, dump trucks and garbage trucks blocking any avenue of approach? Who are we protecting ourselves from? Why does security have to be so heightened, in particular in more conservative parts of the country? Why would that be? Who's the threat that we are worried about? Well, according to Tucker Carlson, none. That's not really a threat. But he goes on to talk about some things that actually are, and this is why he's being disingenuous with this argument. He's saying it can only be one thing or the other. Let's keep listening, and then we'll talk about the next bit.
I know a lot of people who have killed themselves. A lot. I know people who've died of drug ODs, more than a few. I know people can't get jobs. None of the boys in my daughter's classes can get jobs. None of those white boys can get jobs. They're being destroyed, by Adderall and video games and porn. Like, I see millions of Americans being destroyed, and none of it is at the hands of radical Islam. Is radical Islam bigger danger than OnlyFans? It's not even close. Turning some huge percentage of American women into prostitutes? That's not radical Islam doing that, actually. So anyone who believes that lie, I feel sorry for. But it doesn't reflect the lived reality of anyone I've ever met in the United States. And I observe this for a living. It doesn't mean I'm right, but it means I'm not a casual observer. I'm a close observer because that's my job. And I just think that that's insane. And it would be yet another triumph of propaganda and theory over reality. So you tell people, this is the whole game. This is how, the United States has somehow tied itself to the anchor of Gaza. Like, why are we responsible for Bibi's mass murder? Well, we are now, partly because so many Americans have been told over and over and over, like, your destiny is intertwined with Israel. Israel's our most important ally. There is no sense in which Israel is an important ally. It's not even an ally. It's a liability. But people have been told that again and again and again, or I'm an anti-Semite. By the way, I got the award of apparently anti-Semite of the year 2 days after I gave a speech saying anti-Semitism was immoral. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the people creating the propaganda and disseminating it have zero interest in the reality of any question. Of course, propagandists never care what the truth is.
Interesting. Propagandists, I'm gonna end on that one, but we're gonna go back and talk about some of the things he discussed. Propagandists never care what the truth is. Does that sound oddly familiar? Sounds oddly familiar with how we started this show and how we continue right now. So Tucker, this whole thing sounds like he's mad because there are people that are the part of the pro-Israel crowd that go full bore. Mark Levin is one of the worst about this. Mark Levin, anything you say critical of Israel, it's anti-Semite. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, and it is turning people against, their efforts to maintain some sort of a relationship with the U.S., and it's quashing them. But nonetheless, he talked about OnlyFans. He talked about, the addiction to pornography. He talked about drug use and suicide and all of these things that are epidemics inside of America. And that is true. They are serious problems. However, he's saying this is all he does. His whole shtick is stop it. Okay, Tucker, how do you propose we change the culture? What are you doing to actively change the culture? You've come out and said, well, they called me bad names, and I think it's all because of this group of people. Okay, how are you actually attempting to change the culture? You bring on these swayed and discredited, historians and commentators, people that are removed from the very thing that they say that they're talking about, but they are driving a very specific narrative. Is that helping? Are you by providing swayed and skewed information from discredited historians and other people? What arguments are we going to use to change the culture, Tucker? What are we actually going to do? Should we outlaw OnlyFans? I mean, I guess that would be his stance. Let's talk about that. But all he ever does is say, these things bad, America bad, and Islam good. I played the videos before. I'm not playing them again tonight about, I don't know if you've heard, or Sharia law is bad, right? Sharia law is bad. I don't know if you've heard that or not. And then cracks a joke about it, that he likes the fact you can go into a place where Sharia law is in place and you're not going to get mugged, right? Because they cut off the hands of people who steal. But he glosses over the fact that women are locked away in their houses. If they're walking around the streets, they're dressed like beekeepers. That Christians cannot you can't be a citizen of Qatar and be a Christian. Christians can worship there inside of their compounds, hidden away, with no outward visible crosses or other depictions of Christianity. But he goes and talks to the high up people, right? He talks to their version of, they are lobbying here in the United States. They spend, I forgot the number. It's 9 figures on lobbying here in the U.S., not to mention the billions that they pump into our universities to help gin up the terms like Islamophobia, so on and so forth. But he goes and talks to the higher ups and say, no, this is the way it is. Just listen to us. And he says, okay, I believe you. But then he comes back and there's no policy prescription. There's no policy prescriptions. So according to Tucker, don't pay attention to Islam. The people that we're going to talk about in a minute, don't pay attention to the ones that have been attacking us for 25 years. Pay attention only to the social issues, and the solution to those social issues is some version of Sharia law in America. It's what it sounds like. Donald Trump recognizes this, that we can see it all over the world. And this is a Truth Social post from the president. And he said tonight, this was reposted by Pete Hegseth, it was December 25th. So 6 p.m. on Christmas Day. He said, tonight at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, they would be held to pay, and tonight there was. The Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership, our country will not allow radical Islamic terrorism to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists, of which there will be many more if their slaughter of Christians continues. It was a great post. Kudos, Mr. President. Kudos, Mr. President, for that. But we were, a lot of Christians in this country were saying, where's the outrage over this? Tucker downplayed it. Tucker downplayed it when he was on with Ted Cruz, or not. It was post Ted Cruz. He was interviewing someone, and slaughtering of Christians. Whatever. I don't know what you're talking about there, but this has been a problem. If you haven't seen The Pastor, there's in fact, let me see if I can find the post here. This isn't the one. I didn't grab it. My apologies for that. This is the clip that the Department of War sent out. They launched what looks like some Tomahawks, cruise missiles, coming off of a ship. They sent them deep into Nigeria, into northern Nigeria. They struck some target. There was some additional footage. I don't know if it's legit or not. It looked like Apache helicopters. That doesn't seem to be the case, and that doesn't seem like it would be our MO. I don't know how close AFRICOM, because we do have an African command in the Army, in the military, the DoD does, Department of War. So we have an African command. I don't know how close they are, if that was actual footage of Apaches, with Hellfires and their 20 millimeters or 25 millimeters, whatever they got. I'm going after it. But nonetheless, this is a show of force. It's a show of force very clearly towards Islam, who cannot be argued, does seek to either oppress or destroy Christianity across the globe. This is why we are the great, as Iran would tell their people, the great Satan, right? We are a Christian nation here. And that flies in the face of everything that they believe. So I'm waiting for the pundits out there, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, to say it's going to be another World War III. I approached this stuff with kid gloves. I did during the Iran strike. I said, I'm worried about this. I don't want to get in another forever war. After handling it with a country like Iran, I have significantly more confidence in Donald Trump's ability to do precision strikes without ginning up a greater conflict. But the response is going to come, I believe, from the very people that Tucker Carlson says we shouldn't worry about. Radical Islamists here in the United States. And so this is, let's see, let me play this one here. I think this happened immediately after this strike. Really cool story. Let's check this out.
These strikes happening just days after the return of more than 100 children and teachers who were abducted from a Catholic school in Nigeria just before Thanksgiving. In total, 130 students and 12 teachers were set free on Wednesday after more than a month in captivity. Now, in a statement, U.S. African Command did say the strike killed multiple members of ISIS, but didn't share numbers or any more specific details on the military logistics. President Trump does warn there will be more strikes on terrorists in Nigeria if the targeting of Christians continues.
So after these folks, I thought it was done before, or excuse me, that the strike happened and then these youngsters were released. But they were released and then this happened. But this is the sort of thing that they are dealing with down there. So when somebody minimizes this and says, it's not that big of a deal, don't worry about it. This happens all over Africa. All over Africa. My dad used to do mission work in parts of South Sudan. And he would tell me these stories of people that were in Uganda, I think they were in Uganda, and they were in refugee camps. And they'd be in these refugee camps, growing up in a refugee camp. Then they finally got back into South Sudan. And from South Sudan, they didn't even know how to work the soil. The entire generations had lost the ability to farm their own homeland. And when they got put back, they had to go through they were trying to find people to train them on how to farm their own land. And what happens? The Muslims kick them out again. They boot them out of South Sudan. And then these men who had kids when they were in South Sudan are now raising their families back in the same refugee camps that they grew up in. Where it takes root, radical Islam is destructive, 100%. But don't worry about it, says Tucker. That's not what we're really worried about. Look, we have to worry about the OnlyFans epidemic. We have to worry about the pornography epidemic. We have to worry about the suicide problem, the mental health crisis. We got a lot of things to deal with. But he's saying, no, just focus on this, because that's all I care about. And this is the other piece, the foreign aid. So we send foreign aid to a lot of these countries. And I've pulled up the list. I didn't pull up the whole list tonight. But the two things that they focus on, they say these cultural issues, we need to focus on that, and then we need to divest ourselves from Israel and from all foreign aid. Perfectly fine. Let's talk about doing that. Let's talk about how we stop sending money. But I was reading polls, and polls were showing wildly skewed numbers, but people thought that we were sending anywhere from 10 to like 30% of our tax dollars overseas to other countries. So I said, that's not right. Like that, the numbers that I hear and the numbers that I, that's not accurate. It's not nearly that high. And so, yeah, I went and pulled the numbers for the past, and I'm not justifying foreign aid. I'm just saying that we have to put this in perspective. In 2024, in 2023, we sent between 72 and $100 billion overseas. And then in 2023, we sent $82 billion. In 2025, we've sent between 58 and 62. So we have decreased the amount that we are spending overall, and it is less than 1% of our expenditures. You might say, yeah, but it's still money. Got it. Let's talk about where, because we have to, every penny matters. And I believe that to the depths of my core. But if you look at what's going on in California, as an example, California right now, they have got, let's see, here are the numbers, $2.5 billion in SNAP fraud, $24 billion on fighting homelessness, $18 billion for their high-speed rail. This is in 1 year, by the way. And it's a total of about $70 billion. So we're talking about one state, and we haven't even gotten to Minnesota. So it's not just the big states, it's the small states too. One big state, $70 billion, which is more than we have sent to all countries overseas in the past year. One state. And that's just in these programs. The fraud, waste, and abuse is absolutely rampant. But let's listen to this report real quick because it's interesting.
Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
And we have team coverage. Our national correspondent, Alana Austin, is on Capitol Hill with more on the investigations into Tim Walz. But we start with correspondent Heather Myers, who has more on what is going on in California. A rainy day out there on the West Coast. Heather, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Katrina and Andrew. This latest report was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies to watch out for things like fraud and mismanagement as well as waste. Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters. Then there are infrastructure issues like California's deteriorating dams and also the high-speed train that's already cost taxpayers $18 billion without a single section of track complete. Other reports cite $24 billion spent on the homeless issue that critics claim the state lost track of. More recently, there's a report that says California cell phone users paid a surcharge for years to upgrade the state's 911 system. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley talking about what happened to that plan.
That after spending $650 million on that system, the state is totally scrapping it and starting over, completely wasted the money because the technology doesn't work. Mind you, we are very close to Silicon Valley in Sacramento, and yet the government can't figure out how to make basic technology perform.
Good grief. $18 billion for high speed. I think they're at, I should have looked up the number. I forget how many billion per mile, and none of the track is complete, so it's obviously not working. But they haven't gotten a single consistent mile of track laid. But when it's all said and done, it's going to be something like 20 billion a mile. I forget. I'm making that number up. It's some astronomical number. So these are the numbers in California. But oh wait, it gets better. It gets so much better. Better, sarcastically better. By better, I mean worse. Minnesota is, oh my goodness. Minnesota is an absolute disaster area. So let's look at, the guy that was doing the reports, and he's been going door to door to child care centers, and he's found loads of them all over Minnesota. Look at this. Look. You just got to see it. You got to see it.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door. Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare. And after a few questions, the lady went silent. Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Child Care.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which has its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I try to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door. I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cuz I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there
I
any
don't work
kids
there
when you
anymore.
worked there?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
up?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No,
All Somali,
No.
by the way.
Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
No. You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you?
And it's video after video. They were going to these places. I'll mute this one and just play it so it's going in the background. They were going like place after place. No kids. Absolutely. They're getting paid millions. Each of these facilities, millions of dollars. And they laid out some buildings where there's upwards of 15 healthcare facilities. And it's all around the healthcare, daycare, childcare. They find these it's basically the loophole in where the funding is. And each of these facilities is getting millions of dollars pumped into it, and they're not doing anything, like absolutely nothing. So it's fraud of an epic scale. And just in Minnesota right now, the tally is around $9 billion. That's the estimate, is around $9 billion in fraud just in Minnesota, just on these programs. And on this show, you guys know this. We've talked about the fraud that was going on under the Joe Biden administration at the southern border with the nonprofits, some of them doubling, tripling in size because of the government money just to funnel people, to traffic people into the United States. We have not got this on lockdown, but under this administration at the current time, and because, the Doge, I think, kickstarted this. It kickstarted the interest in this. A lot of people have become very adamant about finding this fraud on their own, some of them. All of these independent journalists and reporters are kind of doing their thing. And it's bringing it to light to the American people. If this was the Joe Biden administration, these things would be locked up tighter than a drum. And so thankfully Junior, I saw that you said Nick Sorter, and I'm going to get to comments here in a minute. But I think that this was, I don't think it was Nick Sorter that did it. Let me double check. I've got so many clips. This guy gives a rundown of it. I'm not going to, I could probably play that video because it's pretty interesting. He does a pretty good job explaining it. Let's play that one, and then I'll make sure I find Nick Shirley. That's who it is. Not Nick Sorter, it's Shirley. Nick Shirley is the one who did it. So let's listen to this explanation.
Anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the number.
How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
Oh, come on. X-Player, why are you the way you are? Elon, #Elon, fix the player. All right, let's try it again.
Here inside of Minnesota.
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day. And all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
So, Junior, I have to answer your comment and give you my theory on this. I saw this when you said, so when do people get fired? How do people not get fired for stealing $9 billion? And this is the problem with every government program. I know this firsthand, that there's so many hands that touch it. So it's a legitimate program. It has a legitimate purpose. And people say, this is why we put this program in place. And then there's 30 or 40, hands that paperwork passes through. And who's going to be the one to identify that and know that it is fraud and still cut the check? And what regulations do they put in the legislation, or what rules do they put in the legislation to say that the approval level for, like if you say that I think this is fraudulent, what guardrails do they have up for people to do that, or do they say that there are none? And if you're in a woke state, can they write it so that criticizing the delivery of $1 million to a daycare center that's owned by Somalis is you can't discriminate based on ethnicity or this, that, and the other, which is obviously going to be a component of it. Like, how do they craft that legislation? So it's like, well, I can't stop it. It's not technically illegal for me to deliver it to them. They've done all the paperwork that's required, but there's no oversight to any of it. And once the money's there, that money's going to get spent. So whatever is allocated, it's going to go to it. Just like Reagan said, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program. And they turn into money laundering schemes is what it is. And that's what this has become. But the more people you have, who are you going to blame for it? 30 people handled the documentation for it. Nobody's the wiser. Nobody's going to that place, though they should be. But maybe they don't have a requirement for people to visit. They say, well, they filed the paperwork. There's 76 kids there. They say there's 76 kids there. And there hasn't been an audit done because we don't have the personnel to do the audit to make sure that it's still legitimate. All that stuff should be coming back to them, but it's to them, look, to politicians, to the entrenched little sycophants in the government, it's just money. It's not theirs. They pay their taxes, but what do I care? If it's a few billion, right? In the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. It's peanuts. Let's throw it out there. Whoop-de-doo. Or they see it as a few million, right? It's just a few million. Millions become billions really fast. And the Somalis in Minnesota, let's be honest, they have taken over. This is the lieutenant governor who, to my understanding, is not a Muslim. However,
My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the
obviously not. She's Peggy Flanagan. It's a very not Somali name.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years. And when I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota. So I want to just encourage the community to know that we're with you. We've got your back. I am here shopping today, and just encourage other folks to show up, support our Somali businesses.
I don't think they really need that much support. They've got $9 billion. Timothy down in the comments said that the fraud is so deep that it's now 65%. Let me pull it up. 65% of Somalia's GDP, the money that they're stealing from us. Foreign aid being laundered through fake businesses over to Somalia. People sending it back to their families. But this looks like a hostage video. She's like, I have to say this, or the blue-haired people are going to just absolutely destroy me. So I'll wear whatever you want me to wear. I'll say whatever you want me to say. Look at that woman over beside her. This searing look, like, say it. Say what I want you to say. Tell them we are wonderful. Meanwhile, we're going to keep ripping you off. It's just infuriating. It's so infuriating. Wow. Because this is the one I'll end on, and then I'm going to get to comments. Because it's all about diversity, right? It's that diversity is our strength thing. It's not about accomplishment. This is what we're trying to get away from. It's not about accomplishment. Mom Donnie, you knew it was going to happen. Wild, wild lefty.
Signor is a career first responder. In just 9 days, she'll be running the world's busiest fire department. One of the most important appointments of the incoming administration.
And they deserve a leader who cares about their work because she did it herself, who understands every detail, and who will fight tirelessly to empower FDNY and make it the best firefighting force in the world.
Lillian Bonsignor began her career as an EMT in 1991 and was ultimately promoted to chief of the city's EMS division, where she served for 3 years before retiring in 2022. Although she never served as a firefighter, she's confident that won't matter.
I know the job.
Never been a firefighter, but part of the LGBTQ plus AAIP, whatever it is, community. Part of the alphabet soup community. Never been a firefighter, but you know what? Go on over there, lady. And you know, you're a homosexual woman, so go ahead and run that fire department. I'm sure you'll figure it out. It can't be that hard, right? I mean, point the water at the fire. They'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And I'm going to get to comments after this, but I will say, identity politics, they suck, regardless of which side you happen to be on. Whether it's Candace Owens doing it, Tucker Carlson doing it, Zorhan Mamdani, who Tucker really likes, and so does MTG. They have a great deal of admiration for him. It sucks either way you trace it. Either way you do it. All right, let me get to comments because you guys have been burning up the chat. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh, PragerU, let's see. She and Dennis said she left on good terms. Yeah, so Dennis Prager had, he I don't know the attack piece of it. I think it's just because people that work for PragerU have come out and gone after her. Now, Dennis Prager, he has, for the limited ability that he has right now to speak, he fell down the stairs and suffered a severe spinal injury, and he's been on a breathing tube, and he's done a few public appearances. One of his assistants has come and one of his commentators has come and done some interview stuff, and he's delivered his thoughts. But he's full on quadriplegic. Bless his heart. It's so sad. Was the VP when somebody's up at the White House? Yeah. There you go, Junior. It's crazy to think that that Tampon Tim was almost VP. He would have had the Somalis up in the White House. That's it. Okay, Junior. Yeah, I saw that you just hit that point about Dennis Prager. Well, Jews are enemies because of her experience. Yes, that's Casey. You're absolutely right. It's the reason for every single problem in your life. When you step on a Lego, walking to get you a cup of coffee in the morning, that's it. That's who did it. It's all their fault. Because, Joe Johnson, who, I'm just making these names up, but Joe Johnson, who was the founder of Lego, was married to Susan Goldman, who was on down the line, and they're connected to the George Soros or whatever. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just she'll trace, go 7 levels from Kevin Bacon just to find any link to a Jewish person. And that's why all the problems in this world. And Tucker's doing the same thing. It's 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. That's what it is. Let's see. I think her turtleneck and Mike here was playing. There you go. That's funny. Turtleneck looks like a hijab. There you go. Let's see. Yeah, I've always liked him too. He's a very sensible guy. He'd always just seemed like a nice old man. Let's see. I'll bet QATARI has some blackmail on Tucker. He seems like he has some. I can't put that one over that one. Well, yeah, you said this one. I was talking about the all the events. Yeah, 9/11. He just glossed over that one. Yeah, Megan, I think you were right. He's, you can say something stupid in a Ivy League, Ivy League private school level with an Ivy League private school level of eloquence. That doesn't make it right. It's like a British person, British people, they either sound smart and are smart, or they sound smart and they're morons. You can look at what they've done to London, to the UK. That place is absolutely collapsing. But if you listen to them talk, they'll give you their opinion. It's like, well, maybe it's like talking to James Bond, right? Maybe I could be convinced. Let's see. There you go. 4,800 extremist terror attacks all over the world. Yeah, it's not just here. Tucker's focused on America. He's an America First guy. I'm not in his sense. I take it very different than he does, but our priority has to be America, and we look at the events going on in America. But when we talk about, when we sit here and talk about what's going on in the UK, in France, in Belgium, pick your country where they've had massive amounts of immigration, you see the end result. I mean, it has to be willful ignorance. It has to be intentional. That's it. You can't see he says, I pay attention to what's going on in the world, and I do this because it's my job. Well, then you suck at your job, dude. If you can't see that, then you're really, really bad at it. Because there's nobody with 2 brain cells and a pulse would be able to say that it doesn't come from destruction, or that doesn't lead to destruction. Let's see. Megan is Christopher. Yeah. Because of what I just said, I think, Junior, I think that it's the way he presented things. He was snarky. He was entertaining. He is a good communicator. He's got a certain air about him, a way that he is. It's like you say anything with confidence, and they'll listen. You seem well read, and people just automatically assume you know exactly what you're talking about. We've become too trusting, and I try to get people to approach things with skepticism. I mean, I try to. Hey, Snapple Apple, welcome back. Let's see. There you go. And that's the other thing. When it's as obvious as it is with Candace or with Tucker, for people that have been in that space, I'm not a big commentator. I will be one day, but right now I'm not. I don't know what it's like to be in that level of limelight, the people that you're around, the influences that are on your life. That's why I like, people like Jeremy from the Quartering, he's not really deep into those spaces. I'm sure he talks to people, but he seems like he's maintained some level. And I don't know, and I say this about just about everybody because it's never gonna happen, but he seems like a pretty reasonable guy. Tim Pool seems like a relatively reasonable guy. There's this. I feel like I get more from I would say, smaller commentators than some of the big folks, because there's a certain level of, I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. Something has corrupted some of these people. Tucker talking about propaganda is rich. Yeah, that's right. Oh gosh, yeah, that one. Well, in the social media sphere, that one really backfired on him. Let's see. Well, there you go. Okay, got to bring this one up too, Junior. Tucker grew up in the swamp in D.C. I mean, he talked about these politicians that were his neighbors, and he hobnobbed with those people. He used that as an end to say, "Oh, you see, I know how bad these people are, so I'm perfectly equipped to rebut them. I'm perfectly equipped to push back against them." And he used that to his advantage, and we bought into it because we were at that point, when he was really getting big, we were looking for the outsiders and the people who were pushing back against the establishment. And he admitted some of his mistakes. He admitted his changing his stance on the Iraq War, the Iraq and Afghan wars. He said, I supported them. I shouldn't have. These were unnecessary wars. He backpedaled on a lot of the right things. But now to say that radical Islam, that is not a threat, that it's not a threat to America, that Sharia law is not as bad as people believe it to be, that it's a superior system in some weird way, and everybody should believe that, is it. I mean, that's just flying in the face of reality, or spitting in the face of reality. Let's see. He does. He laughs like a maniac. So true, Casey. So true. Let's see. Yes, it was amazing. So all those youngsters that they were able to bring back, in Nigeria, this is why I miss international travel. I've gotten to do some recently, and I'm going to be doing some more, over the next year. It's so great to see how other people live, because we are so isolated. You get into some poor parts of the world, and I saw it years ago. I saw it when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and to be exposed to that gives you a different perspective. A lot of Americans, we see that as a victory, and I do as well. But even me, having been back here, spending most of my time here in the States, you lose track of that, and you think, oh, that's a happy-go-lucky story. But then you realize, you got to remember, there are literally millions who are still in some version of servitude elsewhere in the world. I mean, the slave trade is larger now than it's ever been in human history. Interestingly enough, it's predominantly a Muslim problem. Not interestingly, I don't think anybody's shocked by that. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with this, Junior. I totally agree with that. In fact, let's see if my debt clock is working. It's a silly thing. It started showing ads. Yeah, we are massive amounts of debt, and we've got to cut money wherever we possibly can. And that's what, I was a strict, when it comes to foreign aid, like absolutely none. I've been teetering a little bit because there are instances where, it's leveraging for a relatively small amount of a pretty large return on an investment, but I think it needs to all be cut off. And then if we decide to get back, or if we ever get back on solid footing, maybe consider it in the future. But you're right, we just don't have the money anymore. It's just there. We're broke, flat broke. Every kid being born right now is in debt to the federal government to the tune of $100,000. Yep, the fraud is just so in your face. That's it. Let's see. It makes me so sad anyone having a Sacramento account. Yeah. Oh, you moved to Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for a little while, Megan. I've probably said that before. I think I've said it dozens of times. I was stationed out there. It's an amazing place. Except it's so lefty. That's the problem. So lefty. But the weather's amazing. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, if you look there, I equate it to, what's the way to put it? If you follow it to a T, it's the radicals have it right. There's peaceful. There are ones that practice it peacefully, but that doesn't mean you're following the letter of the law. The letter of the law is Sharia. It is an ideology of conquest. I think I skipped way down on here. I might have scrolled too far. Let's see. I don't want to miss some of your all's great comments in here. Let's see. I played that one. Oh yeah. Okay. So there is I wanted to come back to this one, Junior. Nick Sorter, he is another guy on X, and then Nick Shirley was the one who did those videos. Nick Sorter was sharing Nick Shirley. So yeah, we were both right, I guess. Nick Sorter was sharing a lot of his content. Let's see. Don't worry, ICE is coming. Yeah, talking about the Somalis. Oh, I think we're at 2. I hate spitting out a number. I'll give I was ballparking it between self-deportations and actual Trump deportations. I think we're in the neighborhood of 2.3 million. That's the number that's in my head. Don't quote me on that 100%. It was somewhere between 1 point something and 2 point something million, but that included self-deportations. And we need more. We've still got a few years left, but they've got to keep this stuff ramped up. They absolutely do. I'm with you 100%. Did she really? Obviously, I'm doing a show and I didn't see it. I mean, there's not a catastrophe or sad event in this world that can't be blamed on them. And just like the leftists, it's you got to have an enemy. They pick the patriarchy. They pick white people. They pick white men. They pick it's identity politics. Candace and them are doing the same thing. Like, we need a common enemy. Who can we all rally around? Well, the same people that people have rallied around for centuries. Yeah, let's just pick them. Yeah, that's it. Convert or die. That's what happens. Live on the big island. Oh, wow. The big island is... That was a little easier. I was on Oahu. The big island is... it takes so long to drive around it. It's cool. I was there a few times. You can drive up to Mauna Kea and see the Milky Way. Guys, if you haven't been to Hawaii, oh my goodness. I walked out, I was at the Pahakaloa training area, and I walked out of the shower and just happened to look up at the sky, and you see this beautiful purple cloud, and I thought, what in the world is that? I have no idea what that is. And I asked somebody, they were like, that's the Milky Way, dude. You can see it clear as can be. Unbelievable. All right. I think I've gotten to the end of the comments, and we are at the 1 hour mark. I timed this one pretty good tonight, guys. I am so grateful for all you folks that keep coming back. You're a great group of folks. And if you are new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. So if you don't hear from me for a while, pop back in on the Continue Freedom channel and be sure to see my latest video. Even some of my folks that watch it all the time, they send me notes and say, I didn't get notified that you were going live. So anyway, guys, y'all are great. Thanks again. And I will see you in the next video. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great evening.